How to scale to $1 million per month, the NASA 3-step system. Decide, define, do. Hey, if you're stuck making the same amount of revenue month after month, what you're about to watch might explain why and show you how to fix it. This is how to scale to $1 million per month using the NASA 3-step system. Now, most business owners think they're stuck because of marketing problems, team problems, or strategy problems, but I'm here to tell you that's not it. It's a process problem, and I found the answer in the most unexpected place, NASA. You see, recently, my wife, our 3 kids, aged 8, 5, and 3, and I drove 2 hours up the Florida coast to visit the Kennedy Space Center. We almost didn't make it because we spent the whole morning looking for our lost cat, Tink. Good news, we found her, her collar fell off, and someone took her to a local shelter. But by the time we got to the Kennedy Space Center, we only had 3 hours before closing. I didn't want to waste time, so I walked straight to the information desk and asked, what's the one thing we absolutely can't miss today? The woman didn't even pause. She said, go straight to Space Shuttle Atlantis exhibit. You'll probably spend all 3 hours there. To get through the building, we had to pass through a life-sized orange rocket. And my 5-year-old son was so excited. He's like, Dad, a real rocket ship. It was absolutely glowing. And inside, we walked into a standing movie theater where a movie started playing. That's when I learned the Atlantis' story. Now, this wasn't just any spacecraft. Atlantis was a space shuttle that flew into space 33 times, did important work at the International Space Station, then glided back to Earth without any power. It was ready to be refueled and then flown again. Now, before the Space Shuttle program, every rocket could only be used once. So that was millions of dollars either burned up coming down into orbit or sank into the ocean after just one flight. So NASA needed something different. They needed a reusable spacecraft that could fly over and over again. But here's what hit me the hardest. It's the way NASA built Atlantis. The way they made an impossible mission possible. The way they did it was the exact same 3-step process I use to help business owners break through to $1 million per month. Let me explain. Step 1 is decide. Pick your mission. You see, in the early 1970s, NASA's leaders made a bold choice. Build a reusable spacecraft even though no one had ever done it before. They didn't say, let's maybe build one, or oh, let's, try a few things and see if it works, or, maybe we'll get to it one day. No, they brought in their smartest people and said, this is what we're doing. That clear decision created huge momentum. Everyone knew what they were working toward. They didn't waste time on dozens of might work ideas. They focused on one big goal. And here's what most business owners get wrong. They never truly decide. They say they want to make $1 million a month, but they're still trying 3 different business ideas at once, launching random products to test the market without ever doing the math to see could this get us to the million, changing directions every few months when things get hard, and never fully committing to making it happen. NASA didn't build Space Shuttle Atlantis by keeping all their options open. They committed to one vision, create a reusable spacecraft, and that decision changed everything. The first step to your breakthrough is deciding what your goal is and refusing to accept anything less. The second step is define. Plan your strategy. Once NASA decided on the mission, they spent the next few years in the define stage. Step 2, define. They were designing, building prototypes, and testing different approaches. After a lot of experiments, they settled on the Space Shuttle design. A shuttle that would be carried into space by 2 rocket boosters and a big fuel tank that could be thrown away. One engineer said the final design was like strapping a butterfly to a bullet. But it worked, because NASA carefully tested everything before building the real thing. Here's what business owners miss. Strategy isn't guessing, it's planning carefully. Most business owners skip the define phase completely. Instead, they'll launch without knowing if they'll make money. They didn't do all the research up front and then come up with realistic projections based on math and what they know about the market. They'll spend money on ads before they know if people even want their product. They'll hire people without planning what jobs they need to fill or what KPIs they need to hit. NASA didn't just try stuff and hope. They built test versions, ran experiments, looked at the data and perfected the plan until they knew it would work. They weren't risking astronauts' lives on, what if ideas. You need to define the right strategy to reach your goal. Once you pick a goal, you then have to do the work to plan how you're actually going to get there. Otherwise, you're trying to hit a target blindfolded. You're going to probably miss. And then the final step is do. This is execute without stopping. So after 3 years of planning, NASA entered the do phase. Build it, test it, fly it. This took another 9 years of hard work. They built 5 space shuttles: Columbia, Challenger, Discovery, Atlantis, and Endeavour. They ran hundreds of tests. They hired and trained astronauts, their team. They launched missions. They kept improving based on what they learned. The result? Atlantis flew 33 missions over 26 years, traveled 126 million miles in space, and helped build the International Space Center. It's one of the greatest engineering achievements ever by humanity. But here's the truth. It only happened because NASA didn't stop after deciding or planning. They kept executing with clear focus, quarter after quarter, for almost 10 years. Now, luckily for you, they were trying to do something that had never been done before. You're hitting a revenue goal, which has definitely been done before. It ain't going to take you as long. But most business owners quit in the do phase. They make the plan, but they don't follow through. They hire people, but don't make sure they do good work. They create systems, but give up after 3 months. Execution isn't exciting. It's repetitive, hard, and frankly, it's sometimes boring. But it's the only thing that creates results. NASA's formula worked because they did all 3 steps in order, without skipping any. And here's how this works for your business. When I stood in front of Atlantis, I was looking at this 122 feet long, 78-ton engineering marvel floating in midair. I couldn't help but think, this is exactly how you scale to $1 million per month. Step 1, decide what you're building and fully commit. No more changing direction after every few months. You pick the goal, you make it happen. Step 2, you define. You define the strategy using data, testing, and systems. Plan the path carefully. Do not guess this. And step 3, you do the work. Consistently execute until you reach the goal. Keep going until you get there. I call this the 3D scaling system. And it's the same process I've used with clients to break through and scale to 8 figures within 2 years. The best part, you don't need $1 billion budget or a team of rocket scientists. You just need clarity on where you're going, a solid plan to get you there, and an operating system to keep you going until you arrive. Want the complete system? I wrote down the entire 3D scaling system in a free Google Doc that I call the 8-figure scaling playbook. The playbook shows you exactly how to use the decide, define, and do to break through whatever revenue level you're stuck at. It's the same system my clients use to scale from 7 figures to $1 million a month. Click the link in the comments to get access to the 8-figure scaling playbook. Like I said, it's a Google Doc. It's really simple. You just click the link, request access, and someone on my team will give you access. Usually within the 5 minutes, they'll give you access. We do it this way to keep the system just for people like you, like my followers, the people who follow my stuff. So if a visit to Kennedy Space Center reminded me why this system works, imagine what using it could do for your business. Again, click the link in the comments, click the link for the Google Doc, request access, and open up the 8-figure scaling playbook, read it, execute on it. To your $1 million months, Mark Dharma, the Million Month Mentor.